was recognized in 2019 by Governor Roy Cooper to receive the Order of the Longleaf Pine for a distinguished record of service. He ran for City Council in 2019 when he was also voted Mayor Pro Tem. After the passing of Mayor Mac Hodges, Mayor Sadler completed his term as mayor and has been re-elected since. Mayor Sadler's motivations for our town have remained simple. He hopes to create a better version of Washington than he was born into.
Ellen Bravo is a veteran, small business owner, and community member with a vision for Washington's future. After moving here in 2021, she quickly became active in local life, serving on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and Beaufort County Young Professionals. She was even a judge for Stunt Night. Ellen also enjoys kayaking, attending Harbor Church in Chocowinity, and spending time with her husband, nieces, and dog Sammy. Due to her background in public affairs in the Army and as a strategic communications officer, Ellen Bravo values communication and transparency. We are honored to have her here today.
Now, before we begin, I would like to explain how this will be set up tonight. So questions will alternate between candidates. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond with a 1-minute rebuttal for the original candidate. Here's an example. If Mayor Sadler is asked a question, he will have 3 minutes to respond. Ellen Bravo will then have 3 minutes to respond. Sadler will have a 1-minute rebuttal. The next question will go to Bravo for 3 minutes, Sadler for 3 minutes, and Bravo will have 1 minute to rebuttal. Students in the front row will have colored cards that show you when time is running out. Now, let us begin.
My name is Evan Makepeace. I'm a senior here at Washington High School, and thank you for coming tonight. My name is Evan Makepeace. I'm a senior here at Washington High School, and thank you guys for coming tonight. My first question is, how did you get started in the political arena?
Sadler, this first question will go to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lydia, for that introduction. Might want to steal a copy of it, so it's all right with you. I can use that again in the future. And I want to thank the SGA for bringing the community together to hear issues that face our city and to learn how we two candidates will address them. So I applaud you. Thank you. I first began the political arena at a very, very young age. Of course, I didn't know it at the time. Going to the local barbershop called the barbershop to get a haircut. My mother would send me down to the barbershop. And sitting in the barbershop, I would listen to the older guys talk about current events that's going on in the community, some national. And so I just became curious, and I started asking questions. And of course, they said, young blood, we expect fine things from you when you grow up in the community. So I always kept it in mind when I go to the Lee Barbershop. And also, late 80s, early 90s, began going around the community, registering people in the community to vote, having conversation with them, educating them on issues, not just the person that's running. And in the late 80s, early 90s, the opportunity presented itself, which was kind of good and bad for our county at the time. Some members of the community elected as county commissioner. We would like to sit down and work out a plan. But of course, they said no. We don't see any issues. And so the community members got together and they filed suit. And that's why we're where we are now with limited voting. There was a federal lawsuit filed. after the federal lawsuit was filed, it went to federal court. I believe it was in Virginia, and we came out with the limited voting. So let's just give you a little history on limited voting, because I'm sure some people not aware of it or not a fan of it, but it worked. And the reason I say it worked is because my wife Alice Sadler was the first black elected to the Board of the County Commissioners. And then since then, we have had 5 black county commissioners in the serving Beaufort County. In 2019, that's when after I retired, I decided to run for city council, and was fortunate enough to win a seat and enjoy serving the community that I was born and raised in. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barber?
I'd also like to offer the thanks to the Student Government Association for putting together tonight's forum. And I would like to offer a point of clarification so that there is not any confusion with the residents in regards to the city election this fall. The city of Washington is not a limited voting area that is reserved for the county commissioners election. So you will get to vote for a mayor and 5 council candidates. In terms of my involvement in the political arena, I grew up in a military family. My dad served our country for 26 years, but your family serves alongside, and so we moved a lot. And it wasn't until after my service in the United States Army and transitioning out that I got to, for the first time in my life, have a say in where I was going to live and where I wanted to be rooted. And I'm very fortunate and feel very lucky that the Lord led me to find Washington, North Carolina through a Facebook post, nonetheless. But it was in my transition from the military, I had lost what I felt like with my community. And Washington has given me back that gift of community. And it is something that I do not take for granted, and I have been very excited to be a part of. But I was raised in a way that when you're a part of something, you take action, you get involved, you get engaged. And so right from the get-go, coming to Washington to open a business, my grandfather was like, you have to get involved in the Chamber of Commerce. Okay, sign me up. How do I get involved? And from there, I've just continued my involvement with the Washington Harbor District Alliance Board of Directors and attending local meetings. And so in 2023, when the opportunity presented itself to run for city council, I thought that that would be a great fit so I could have an opportunity to be representative of the residents of Washington and give voice to some of the voices that weren't being heard. Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to be elected, but I took that responsibility very seriously, that people had voted for me and they had placed their trust and confidence that I could be representative of them. And I got involved with the 15th Street Coalition at the start of this year because residents, when I had run for city council, had told me it was a point of concern for them. It was something that they wanted to be included in that conversation and they wanted to be part of. And unfortunately, that is not what was taking place by our current elected officials. And so getting involved in that conversation when that came back to the table at the start of the year is really kind of what has led me to be seated before you today.
Thank you. Mayor Sadler, you were offered a 1-minute rebuttal.
I'm a pass on that one. You'll do opportunity to come in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to both the candidates. Our next question.
My name is Jaden Winley, and I am a freshman here at Washington High School. And my first question is, how do you deal with representing so many different opinions from people in our city while still sticking to your personal beliefs?
When you are representative of a group at large, like you are when you are an elected official, it's important that you are able to have a rational exploration of all ideas. Personal beliefs aside, you have to be able to bring people to the table to have a conversation and have an exploration of what the big picture is and what all the facts are and what all the resolutions might be that you can come to. I do think personally that, there can be a difference between what your values are and what your beliefs are, and what you believe to be true in a situation And when presented with new facts and new information, that can be shaped and that can be changed. But the values that you hold as an individual will structure your daily life and how you approach problems and how you approach people. And for myself, with my communications background, I think that's where transparency is so important in our ability to be able to communicate with one another. Even if we disagree on what the outcome should be, you will get to a better solution when people with different opinions can come to the table and compromise and have respectful discussions.
Thank you. Mayor Salvage?
My interest seldom differs from the views of most people across Washington because I listen to them. That's why I decided to run for office in 2019. Being born, raised here in Washington, I'm throughout the community. I listen to people, and I listen to their concerns that they have throughout Washington. And some of the concerns were that we had certain areas and sections of the community that was growing and certain areas that were being left out. So I said, well, I need to be a voice for my community and make sure I am at the table to make sure my whole city grows. Because we're not just certain portion of the city, we have to make sure that the whole city grows. And when the whole city grows, we all are successful. Our city is successful. People want to come to our city, want to move to our city. So we have to develop the whole city of Washington to give everyone a safe place to live in Washington, Washington is very safe. We have very low crime rate here in Washington. And also, being a mayor, you have to deal with 5 other city council members that have different opinions, that have friends and supporters that's out in the community. You have to sit down and find common ground to come up with ideas that's best for the city of Washington. Because once the election is over, you have to start governing. And when you start governing, you have to make decisions that sometimes are not popular. Your friends may get a little upset with you. Special interest groups may get a little warm with you. But as long as you're making the right decision for your city, that's what you have to do, is represent your citizens throughout the city of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bravo, you're on for 1 minute rebuttal.
Unfortunately, that is not what we're seeing in practice. Residents shouldn't have to be activated to petition after petition after petition to feel like their voices are being heard and representative by their elected officials here in Washington. And I don't understand, and everyone who signed a petition does not understand how taking more than 40 homes and businesses out of our community to widen a road that will separate neighborhoods and destroy that area of our community is what is best for Washington. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now our next question.
Okay, once again, I'm Lydia Smith. I'm a senior here this year, and my question is, what plans do you have to make the infrastructure of the city better and well maintained to keep it running efficiently?
That's a great question, Lydia. We are currently working on a 3-pronged drainage plan for here in the city of Washington. As you see, out on 264, New Pennsylvania Avenue, that is the first phase of the drainage project that we are now working on. Staff was able to secure a $3.5 million grant to help fund the drainage system. And also it's up what we call the hospital drainage area. And with that drainage area being addressed, that's going to alleviate flooding on people's property. During a hurricane, tornado, that sort of thing, our city floods, which is a problem throughout our city. So we're definitely working on that as a three-pronged project for our city to address drainage areas. Also, the city of Washington has 52 miles of paved street that the city and the staff have put together a rotation plan to repave all the streets in the city of Washington. 36 miles of sidewalks. That's a lot of sidewalks in the city of Washington that has to be maintained along with the streets. So our staff works very hard to make sure that our city is safe, drainage issues is addressed, and once this project is completed, we're going to move on to the next phase. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Savage.
When I think about infrastructure here in Washington, we have to be careful about the development of our cities. And we have to give thoughtful development across our community. We had really great, thoughtful development with the historic downtown, and it's had a very beautiful outcome for the residents of Washington and with our tourism ecosystem. But that same level of infrastructure and thoughtful development has to take place not just downtown, but across our community at large. And so that includes making sure that we have bikeability and walkability for our residents, as well as ensuring that we have the stormwater improvements, but that residents along the way can keep up to date with these projects very easily. It's 2025, and it shouldn't be hard for residents in the community to understand what's happening, when it's happening, and why it's happening. So being able to track the progress of stormwater improvements and infrastructure updates that are taking place, what's coming, what's the timeline of my road being repaved, so that you're not caught by surprise, but you're not left wondering where your money is going and what the status of these projects are. Other things when you think about infrastructure is solar. Where are we at with understanding how that can be integrated to the improvement of Washington? And so there are a lot of things that you can be looking at large. Thank you.
Mayor Savage.
It takes time when you're establishing a project for the city of Washington. You have to secure funding, which our staff does a great job pursuing grant funding. You also have to get permits from the state to start work. And so sometimes the citizens doesn't understand why it's taking so long, but this is the process that you have to go through. I get ignored sometimes when the council approves a project, but it can't start right away because we have to secure funding, we have to secure permits, and we have to follow the proper guidelines and regulations.
Thank you. And now our next question.
Hi, my name is Aubrey Willard, and I'm a senior here at Washington High School and also part of SGA and AP Government. My first question is, what economic concerns do you have, and how do you plan to improve these issues?
Ms. Barber.
Property taxes. We say that housing and affordability of housing is a priority for us here in Washington, and yet our property taxes have been raised. When presented with the opportunity to ensure that the property taxes went revenue neutral after the reevaluation was conducted, unfortunately the City Council did not go revenue neutral. So those property tax bills that you've all recently received could have looked a little different after the reevaluation. And so when I think about the economy here in Washington and the economic concerns, we are pricing our residents out of living here. Those that are on fixed incomes, young professionals, and with raising property taxes, not only does that affect your homeowners, but it also affects your renters, because those fees by your landlord are just going to be passed along to the tenant. And our rent prices are already not competitive because we are so highly priced out of our markets comparative to New Bern and Greenville. So how do you attract a young professional, a new college graduate? How do you convince a Washington High School student graduate to stay here in Washington if they can't afford to live here?
Thank you. Mayor Southern?
I would remind everyone that property revaluation is county commissioner by law is the authority to do tax reevaluation every 8 years. Our current council reduced our tax rate from 58 cents to 48.5 cents to save our citizens some funding. My property taxes went up also. So I feel the pinch too, just like all our citizens do. My property tax went up $270,000 for one piece of property. I'm like, that's crazy, but that's where we are. The market dictated the tax reevaluation. So council, to give our citizens some relief, we reduced taxes down to 48.5. And we also have to recruit industries to come here and offer a great wage for our citizens that live here. We have a great community college. It's a top community college throughout the state, number one. We have to make sure that our residents attend community college and get the proper training that they need, the education that they need, to have the opportunity when these high-paying jobs come to Washington, Beaufort County, they're in the position to fill these positions. And they're coming. We'll talk about that as we go on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
While the reduction in the percentage might have been down, it was not a revenue neutral reduction in your property taxes. So therefore, there are additional funds for the budget as a result of not going revenue neutral. It's hard to recruit new jobs when you don't have a new industry, when you don't have anywhere for their employees to live.
Thank you. Now for our next question.
Hi, I'm Solomon Voltes here at Washington High School and 10th grade class president. My question for y'all is, how do you plan to divide the city's fundings and what things do you believe are the most important?
Mayor Southern?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question, young man. City manager starts off preparing his budget probably April, May of each fiscal year. He meets with his top staff. He brings them in. They meet, and they go through each department. You have your electric department, Parks and Rec, police, fire, EMS, and they come up with a plan, come up with a budget. They present it to City Council. City Council, we have 2 to 3 budget workshops to get an understanding of what the department heads is asking council to approve. We always send them back and say, you're asking for too much. You got too much fat in it. You need to cut it and come back. And of course, that's what they do. And the next step is we have a public hearing at City Council. Public hearing at City Council before we approve the budget. You know how many people show up to the public hearing? 1. You know how many people show up to the budget workshops? When we had the budget workshop? 1 show up. So once the budget is approved, that's when someone is alerted. Hey, those guys just approved the budget. Why wasn't we told about it? You was invited to come to the meeting. You were invited to come take part. You were invited to come share your opinion. You don't come. There's one lady that shows up each and every time. It's the lady that's sitting right there. District Drive. But most important issue, the most important budget items in our budget is our public safety. We added 4 new police officers to protect and patrol our neighborhoods throughout the nights. Fire EMS service. We had made a commitment to the county 3 years ago that we were going to add 12 paramedics to operate our EMS service, to have 2 trucks running in EMS for 24/7. 2 trucks that would now be running in the city of Washington 24/7. So if you got one EMS at an accident on 15th Street because that's a dangerous corridor, and if you're home having a heart attack, you got an EMS truck ready to go to come save your life instead of having to wait for an EMS truck come from Broad Creek, Chocolate Winnie, Pinetown. So you talk about we wasting money, that's to save people's lives.
Thank you.
When it comes to the city budget, as your mayor, I would ensure that I am obviously intimately familiar with the budget and the line items and infrastructure improvements, improving our flooding, draining, many of the things that I have continued to hear through my campaign. But I think it's important that the residents of Washington understand that fiscal responsibility and fiscal being a fiscal conservative is important when you are the state, you're holding the trust of the residents of Washington in your hands and their money, their taxes, their hard-earned money. And so it really took me by surprise as I dug into the budget and I started to realize that the debt that the city of Washington has taken on has just skyrocketed. And just 33 months ago, what was sitting at $1.4 million in debt is now sitting at $22 million in debt. And so maybe if we were being a little more fiscally responsible with how we are spending our money and where we are considering taking on debt, we wouldn't be raising your property taxes to fund new police officers and paramedics.
The general funds is set up in 2 different ways. You got your general funds, money through taxes, sales tax. That operates as, well, we purchased the new police department. Splash pad. Do we have enterprise funds, which are separate businesses inside the city for stormwater fees, electric departments. That's how those are funded. So city is not in $20 million for debt. Whoever told you that lied to you. They lied to you. Whoever told you that. You need to go back and learn how to read it. I come to you, call me, I sit down and we can show you how to read it before you start putting misinformation out in the community. And also on that splash pad, I would ask council 20 times to vote for that splash pad because I enjoy seeing 25,000 kids come to the city of Washington and our splash pad to enjoy themselves every day during the summer. 16 weeks out this summer, 25 kids came to that splash pad. The parents really enjoyed themselves at that splash pad. So don't tell me that we're spending too much money when we invest in kids, which is our future.
We have to move on. Thank you. Now our next question.
Hello, my name is Keelan Plunkett. I am a senior at Washington High School and I am a senior class vice president. My question for you is, we have citizens who have become accustomed to living on government-funded programs such as housing or food allowances. What will you do on a local level to help and encourage people to break free from these government-funded programs?
Ms. Bravo.
As mayor, and when you're elected at a local government, the role that would be mine would be economic development here at home. And so when I am thinking about what's happening here in Washington, it's how do you have job creation? How do you attract industry partners? How do you have the infrastructure and affordable housing so that people can be lifted up within our community? How do you have partnerships with the nonprofit infrastructure that you have here in Washington at the city level to ensure that the right resources are being supported within our community and across our community? And I think for myself, those types of things could be formalized maybe through a memorandum of agreement between the nonprofits and the city. But I think it's important that as the mayor, the focus is on your local community development and economic development here at home, and not necessarily on the state and federal level.
Thank you. Mr. Southern?
Yes, sir. I've served on the Washington Housing Authority Board, and I learned of a program through HUD. It's called Family Self-Sufficient Program. And what that program does, it teaches families the importance of work training, budgeting, encourage them to go to the local community college, encourage them to get the GED if they don't have the GED. And we work with those tenants in public housing to better themselves. And we did that. And now I am proud to say that some of them salary has risen. They're risen, they got themselves out of poverty. But once you get yourself out of poverty, you're living in public housing, you put on what they call flat rent, which is fair market value. So you might have a tenant that's still receiving subsidy, and then you have a tenant that's making a nice, reasonable salary now, their rent goes up. So what we have done through a partnership called Neighborhood Revitalization Program, we have encouraged them to become homeowners, take advantage of all the opportunities with that come along with first-time home buyers program. And I'm sure some of you in the audience tonight has taken advantage of that program at some point, because we all needed some help and got some help along the way. But that program teaches people to become homeowners. And we have done that. Today, we have 5 new homeowners that are paying taxes. Otherwise, did not pay taxes years ago, but they are currently paying property taxes in the city of Washington, North Carolina. And I'm very proud of that program. We'll continue to support that program because it's bringing people out of poverty. When they move, the day they move in their house, they go in the house with equity, which is great. We all should be applauding that, getting people off the system. So, of course, our Washington Housing Authority board members view housing as a go-through. It's just a pass-through, not to stay, but to develop yourself and move and elevate yourself and become a more productive citizen and taxpayer citizen in our city and in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. And now our next question.
My name is Gabe Niederhauser. I'm a senior here at Washington. And my question is, due to the large amount of pedestrian traffic in Washington, what would your solution be to make travel safer for both pedestrians and drivers?
Thank you. Mayor Stafford?
Okay. We didn't have sidewalks in the center city until public housing was built in the early 70s. Some of you probably saying, well, I can't believe that. And HUD required those sidewalks to be built with those public housing. I know that because I grew up in public housing. Proudly grew up in public housing. Proud of public housing. I go into public housing every day of my life. But there were some homeowners also that owned homes in the inner city. They did not have sidewalks. They had this with one of the gentlemen was a preacher named Reverend Stitch. Stands out. He and some of his neighbors had to pool their money together and pay a tax to get sidewalks. That should not have happened. That should have came along with the city, but that was another time. But I'm proud to say now that we have 36 miles of sidewalks throughout our city of Washington. And also, once 15th Street safety and infrastructure plan is put in, we will have sidewalks on the north side, south side of 15th Street, multi-use paths, so we don't have people have to ride hover around in the street on 15th Street, as dangerous as it is. This afternoon at 3:30, my wife and I were traveling 15th Street, and I cringed because I saw a gentleman on a hover around traveling on 15th Street with all that traffic out there. So with the safety plan that is going to be implemented through North Carolina DOT when they revitalize 15th Street, and also they're going to take care of the infrastructure for stormwater. That's going to be an $8, $9 million price tag that the city of Washington doesn't have to pay and can't afford if we had to do it ourselves. This could be a $40 million project that DOT is going to pay for at zero cost to the city of Washington. I know some of you don't like it, but I stand behind it. And it's going to be good for the city of Washington. Thank you.
It's interesting because 15th Street is a great example of us not following our existing bike and pedestrian plan that the city of Washington invested tens of thousands of dollars and hundreds of residents' time in developing. Your current 15th Street widening proposal will have a sidewalk and a multi-use path because that is required by the Complete Streets concept adopted by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. It also puts a sidewalk and a multi-use path to nowhere because it connects into nothing, and the city of Washington has not been implementing its bike and pedestrian plan to be forward-thinking as to what that is going to connect into and how is that going to be added to our existing infrastructure. It doesn't include a bike lane, which is your standard best practice in today's day and age. The Federal Highway Administration requires that a pedestrian crossing be every 200 to 600 feet when implementing a project like this. But the current design has 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet between pedestrian crossings. That is not best served for your pedestrians who are looking to move on foot or your bikes who are looking to be moving along the corridor. We have to be willing to hold the North Carolina Department of Transportation accountable. We have to be willing to demand best practices. We might be a small town, we might be rural, but we deserve best practices. What is taking place in Division 8 out in the Charlotte, North Carolina area is best practices, and the autonomy that NCDOT has structured for North Carolina is a disadvantage to us here in Division 2. If you want to talk about pedestrian driver safety, you need representatives of you that are willing to go out and demand better. People who are willing to go out and seek answers and resources to make sure that what they're being provided is the best solution, and what you are being given on 15th Street is not. It is detrimental to our community, it is going to divide neighborhoods, and it cannot be undone once it's done. And so, as your mayor, I would fight for you. I would fight to ensure that I can look you in the eye before I take your home or I take your business and tell you I did everything I absolutely possibly could before I did that. That is not the best solution. Myself and other members of the 15th Street Coalition sat down with Jonathan Russell, our city manager, in June following the meeting at the community college to want to understand the budget implications. And he looked us in the eye and said that the city had not applied for any additional grant funding for those infrastructure improvements, that our systems are not failing, but there are opportunities for us out there and we're not applying for them. We haven't considered earmarking funds to self-fund those improvements. Why haven't we considered alternative solutions?
Hazard for a vote.
15th Street is property of the state of North Carolina. The city of Washington cannot go in and take over 15th Street and do what they want to do with it. We have to follow the state of North Carolina DOT plan for 15th Street. When I was first elected, I met with a group of people about 15th Street. 7 to 8 times. 7 to 8 times I met with them. And each and every time, they did not like what DOT was telling them. No matter what compromise DOT would make, it just was not satisfied. And Ms. Braybro, you come in 2023 or whenever you say you come in to start working on DOT. I started working with DOT in the city and citizens that I met with those groups 7 to 8 times in 2019. I put work into 15th Street.
Thank you. Now for our next question.
Hi, my name is Lydia Gore. I'm a freshman here at Washington High School. My question for you tonight is what kind of projects would you be interested in endorsing as mayor? And are there any projects that you think are essentially needed to improve Washington?
Ms. Bravo.
Thank you for that question. We've touched on a lot of things that I am very passionate about. Walkability, bikeability, those are things that I believe that are projects that I would be endorsing. I think we need to improve our bikeability and our walkability here in Washington. But also the flooding. The flooding is very concerning to me, and how do we improve our drainage and make that a priority? Because it's been something that's continued to be discussed, and I do recognize that it is not something that happens overnight. But I believe that continuing to keep people informed of where those developments are taking place, what projects are being worked on, in a way that's really easy to digest. Mayor Sadler talks about, no one attending a budget workshop or a budget hearing. But I think it's important that residents have multiple ways in which they can receive information. We shouldn't be doing just the bare minimum of putting a notice in the newspaper. How are we leveraging digital media and marketing platforms within our community that are at our reach? Why are we not hosting quarterly town halls in terms of being able to understand where the residents are at on projects, or where the community's at on projects, but what residents' perspectives are? And so I would see that as a quarterly town hall to understand what are the priorities and ensure that you can find ways beyond just a city council meeting where you get 3 minutes to speak as an opportunity to stay informed and updated as to what is going on in the city.
Thank you. Mayor Sadler.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, I support safety. I support infrastructure plans. I support EMS. I support fire and rescue. I support the police department. But also, we must talk with developers, form a partnership with developers to come to our city and build homes, nice homes, communities that offer amenities. When I say amenities, offer pool, walking trails, workout center, community rooms. As sometimes Alice and I will go to a restaurant, talk to the waiter or waitress and ask them where they're from. And they'll say, they're from Greenville or wherever they may be. I say, well, why don't you move to Washington? They say, we would love to, but we can't find anywhere to stay. Walk downtown, talk with different people you see walking around, introduce myself to them. I don't share my road with them because I want to get a perspective of what they really have in Washington. And it's always positive that they love our community. And again, I said, well, you love us so, and you're over here all the time, why don't you move to Washington? And again, they say, Dad, finding a home. I said, well, we have beautiful homes on the waterfront. We got small wood, subdivision, Iron Creek, name a few. But they're pretty much a full. So we do have to form a partnership with developers to come in and develop nice neighborhoods to attract people to come here and stay in Washington. We have nurses, police officers, again, fire and rescue, teachers that live outside the city that would love to come to Washington and stay. Washington is growing. We have a nightlife for the residents that love to enjoy themselves in the evening after a busy day at work. And we will do that once I'm re-elected in a good council that we all can find common ground to work to continue moving this city forward. We will have those conversations with developers. Thank you.
Ms. Barber?
I'd also like to add, I used to serve on the Warren Airport Authority Board here in Washington, and we have the Aerospace Industrial Park that is looking to be developed. And we've had a lot of really incredible people come to the table that are interested in making an investment here in Washington. But unfortunately, it's been the relationship with the city that has been preventing a lot of those partnerships moving forward. And it's a really cool vision for anyone who's unfamiliar with what's possible in the vision out at the airport. I'd love to talk, and I encourage you to go out there and take a look at what is going on at the airport. But I think that would be a huge area where I would be endorsing getting that aerospace industrial park filled with the right partners and increasing our partnerships and opportunities with the U.S. military and their training opportunities that exist in that unique infrastructure.
Thank you. Now for our next question.
Once again, I'm Lydia Smith. I'm a senior and SGA senior class president. At the waterfront, many people pay to keep their boat there, which does not leave much room for recreational use. What would you do to expand the waterfront so that more people who are riding by on their boats could park them and take advantage of the restaurants and other events along Washington?
Thank you for that question. But I want to say one thing. I think I might have misheard something. I want to make sure that my ears would hear me correctly. I think, did Ms. Mayoral, I heard that you served on the airport board? Yes, she did. Do y'all know who appointed Ms. Bravo to the airport board? Me. I appointed Ms. Bravo to the airport board. Do you know how long she served on the airport board?
Mayor Sadler, I asked you to please focus on the current question.
I will. Thank you. I'm sorry. Appreciate it. I'm sorry. Remember, we're a small town with public space that has to be shared. And our waterfront is very popular. We have 29 boat slips that is currently rented. We have 300 feet of free dock that can be used up to 3 days. That means anyone can come up and choose any position within those 3 feet for 3 days, or you can travel from Bath by boat if you like. Come in and dock at those locations. Go downtown, have dinner, and enjoy yourself, and get back on your boat and travel back out. So those options are there. But we also have to keep in mind that we have pedestrians walking our beautiful boardwalk. We have people out fishing, enjoying the recreation of fishing in our community. And we have street cruisers, people that love to ride Stewart Parkway and look at our beautiful waterfront and look at that beautiful water. So we have to keep in mind that that is shared space that we have to share with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you, Christian. I completed my term with the Washington Airport Authority at the end of my term. I did not apply for reappointment. So yes, my term was only 6 months, but I did not apply for reappointment. I was filling a gap.
Again, we asked to stand.
I know. The dock master, when it comes to the expansion of the boardwalk, the dock master should be reporting the usage. And so if a need was identified, that is something that would be communicated based on the usage rates. There was an opportunity for the expansion to take place and connect into the new Moss Landing development, but the city council at the time decided that was not in the best interest of the city, and so that dock expansion will not take place to further our boardwalk. And that will be a Moss Landing boardwalk, from what I have understood. But there are opportunities to expand those services and those offerings. And again, I would just go back to that the dock master should be reporting that usage to the city. And that is something that your city council and your city leadership should be working hand in hand with him to identify a need for that expansion. But there would also be opportunities to ensure that people coming to Washington who might not be familiar with where all of our boat ramps and our drops and our other places in town are available to them, that the Washington waterfront is not the only location in which you can bring your boat, drop your boat in, park your boat, that sort of thing. And so ensuring that the signage at the waterfront clearly articulates those alternatives would be important.
Thank you. Mayor Sadler, you're off for a rebuttal. Our next question, please.
Hi, my name is Isabella Smithwick. I'm a sophomore here at Washington High School, and I'm a part of SGA. My question is, how do you ensure residents' voices are heard when making big decisions?
Ms. Bravo.
A two-way dialogue is so important between residents and their elected leaders. And so for myself, when I think about ensuring that that takes place, I picture quarterly town halls. I picture ensuring that people have the opportunities to express their concerns in ways that are not just at the city council meeting in their designated 3 minutes. Transparency. Ensuring that there is a weekly newsletter coming out of the mayoral office, ensuring that there's a partnership between the city and the public information officer. I think it's really awesome that we have hired a PIO for Washington residents, and I hope that you guys are following the Facebook page. There's a lot of opportunity for information to be out there. For myself, podcasting is how I tend to consume a lot of information, but ensuring that you guys have the opportunity to reach me as your mayor. You have my email, you have my phone number, you have avenues within the city to be connected to the resources that you need in a timely fashion that exists outside of that traditional infrastructure at a city council meeting.
Thank you. Mayor Sadler?
Yes, sir. We have, when I say we, talk myself and council, we have held several meetings throughout the community. We attend civic groups, update citizens on issues that's going on in the city of Washington. We go to churches and talk with members of local churches to update them and make them aware of important things that's going on in the community. We recently hired a new public information officer, she is doing a great job. And we will continue to do a great job for our city. And we'll get information out across our city. You probably already have seen some of her work in the recent weeks. So yes, we do encourage, and council do love going out in the community and talking with people. Like I said, different organizations, just different civic groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, please.
Hi, my name is Julia Farr. I'm a sophomore here at Washington, and my My question is, we're a graduating high school student. Why should we stay in Washington?
Mayor Sadler?
Well, if your career goal requires a 4-year degree, don't stay in Washington. Go to school and return to Washington after your education. But Washington is a safe place to raise a family for the ones that's not going to school. And you also have access to the #1 community college in the nation, which is our Beaufort County Community College. Yeah, let's give them a hand. You can go to the community college and develop a work skill or those high-paying jobs that will soon be coming to the city of Washington. And the reason I say high-paying jobs is because our state legislators, and I give Kidwell the props for securing $33 million for the city of Washington and Beaufort County Airport to redevelop our airport. And they have purchased 140 acres of land, and we're going to turn it into an industrial park. And we are in the process of recruiting businesses to come here and work in the city of Washington. So we need to make sure that our residents are attending the community college, so when they come here, they are ready to go to work. So the employee don't have to bring their workforce to the city of Washington. We also have to make sure that we revitalize our city, beautify our city as a whole, because when companies come, they just don't look at certain part of the city. They tour the whole city. And they want to make sure that their employees is good with coming to Washington. I host a football Super Bowl every year for the last 40 years. And somehow one of the company's president ended up at my Super Bowl party. I had no idea how he got there. But what he told me when he left, he and his wife felt comfortable at Washington and the hospitality that we showed to them. They moved their company to the city of Washington. And that's why I get companies to come to the city of Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barber?
Washington is a cool place to live. And I'm going to look at you guys here in the front row because I am the person that graduated from a small town ag community high school, and I said I need to get as far away from here as possible. And I went to college 10 hours away, and I said, deuces. And I joined the military, and I traveled the world. And that was an incredible opportunity, and I'll make the shameless plug, join the military, travel the world. And if you'd like to talk about that, see your local recruiter. But you can travel the world, and you can live a bunch of different places, and you will always be looking for home. And I, as someone who has lived it, and who has traveled the world and experienced a lot of really cool things, when the opportunity presented itself to where do I want to be, I wanted to be here in Washington. It was a place that I immediately fell in love with, because what you have here is unique. You have community. You have community here, and that is not something that you can replace. And you can go to a big city, and if you want to, go. I am with Mayor Sadler. Go get educated if you like, if that's your path and your vision for your future, and bring all your cool ideas back to Washington. Because what's unique about Washington is we're poised for you to have a say in what that future looks like. What do you want that housing solution to be? What do you want those jobs to be? What part, you get to have a say in that. You have the opportunity to get engaged and get involved. We need young professionals who have an interest in being appointed to the different boards and being volunteers on these different committees and being engaged here in Washington. But Raleigh's already established itself. Greenville's already established itself. What do you want your home to look like for your family and for your future? And so I would offer, you already live in the coolest place. Where else do you need to go?
Rebuttal? Next question, please.
Hey, my name is Jackson Harding. I'm a senior here at Washington High School. I'm in AP Gov and SGA. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. My question is, what's the best way for citizens to reach out to share concerns to you?
Ms. Brother?
Facebook, email, phone, write me a letter if you want. But honestly, my door is open, my phone line is open, my email is open. I do have a weekly coffee, so my next coffee will be on Tuesday at 7:30 in the morning at Riverwalk Coffee. And so I am available if you have additional questions and concerns that you'd like to express before the election and after the election as well.
Thank you. Mayor Sadler?
Citizens can reach out to me by calling the Secretary of the City of Washington, Cynthia Bennett, Jessica Green. Also, many of you in the audience probably have my personal cell phone. But I see some people in the audience now that I recognize. I know you have my personal cell phone. Jerry, you still have my cell phone number? Because he don't want to answer me, but he has it. But also, Facebook Messenger. I get messages every day through Facebook Messenger. Doesn't matter what time it is, I respond. Holidays, I respond. At night, I respond. And when I respond to the citizens to see what their needs and their concerns are, I just don't talk to them over the phone. I say, well, give me your address. I'm going to make a personal visit to you so I can put my eyes on your issue, what matters to you. I want to know what's really going on. And I go to the house. They're surprised when I show up because they didn't think I was coming. But I'm that kind of person, growing up in the city of Washington. That's good old Southern hospitality, that you have that personal contact with people. Not just deal with an issue and say, well, good, I'm through with you. I want to really know what the issues are, what they're going through. And that's what I do every day. I am very visible in the community. Probably more than any other mayor that has been in the city of Washington. I am everywhere. And I love it because I love my city. And we'll continue to do so once I'm re-elected. Thank you.
And Mayor Sadler, I'd like to make the ask that you would meet with the 15th Street Coalition to discuss the widening of 15th Street so that you can have a grasp on the information that we have gathered from national NGOs, metropolitan organizations, and the Federal Highway Administration so that you can make the best informed decision between now and the election on any matters that have to do with the North Carolina Department of Transportation and U 5860.
Can we please give both of our mayoral candidates a round of applause? Now, before we end, there's one more thing we would like to, the Washington High School would like to offer a gift to both of the mayoral candidates.
Thank you. I would definitely cherish this. Being a Pam Pack, I would definitely cherish this. I am a Pam Pack.
Thank you all so much. Washington High School and the students of SGA would all like to thank you all for coming out tonight. We ask that you please drive home safe. Thank you.